It was a cold Christmas Eve in the heart of the city, and snow was falling in quiet whispers, blanketing the sidewalks in a white silence. The streets were full of glowing lights and laughter spilling from warm houses and decorated shops, but not everyone had a place to belong that night. Ethan Blackwood, a millionaire known for his business empire and his stoic personality, had just finished a long day of work, though it was unusual for him to be in the office on Christmas Eve. For years now, holidays had become empty traditions since his wife passed away, leaving him alone to raise their only son, Noah. The boy was his only source of joy, and though Ethan showered him with every comfort money could buy, something deep inside still felt missing. He could give his son toys, trips, and education, but he worried Noah was growing up without seeing the value of kindness, love, and compassion beyond material things. On his way home that night, Ethan decided to take a longer route through the quieter streets, hoping to clear his head from the constant noise of business calls and the loneliness that always grew stronger around Christmas. As he stopped at a red light, his gaze drifted to the side of the street, where a thin woman in a ragged coat was digging through a trash bin. Her movements were slow, her fingers stiff from the cold, but desperation was written in the way she pulled out crumpled paper bags and checked them for scraps of food. People passed her quickly, eyes averted, their arms heavy with shopping bags, not wanting to be reminded of her misery. Ethan, however, could not look away. Something in her trembling hands and tired eyes gripped him in a way he didn't expect. He had seen poverty in reports and charities, but witnessing it here, in the freezing night, made his heart ache. Without fully understanding why, he pulled his car to the side and stepped out into the biting wind. The woman stiffened when she noticed him approaching. Her hair was tangled, her cheeks hollow, and her lips cracked from the cold. She clutched the edge of the bin like she was ready to run if he came too close. Ethan raised his hand slightly, his voice low and gentle. "I don't mean to frighten you," he said. "Are you hungry?" For a moment she stared at him as if she couldn't believe he was speaking to her. Then, in a hoarse whisper that trembled in the air, she replied, "I was just looking for something to eat. I haven't had a proper meal in days." Those words pierced him deeper than any business failure ever could. He nodded slowly and reached into his coat for his wallet, but the woman quickly shook her head, her eyes flashing with something between pride and fear. "I don't want money," she said. "People throw money at me sometimes, and it only brings trouble. I just wanted something to get through tonight." Ethan hesitated, then asked softly, "Would you come with me? Just for tonight. I can get you a warm meal, maybe a place to rest." The woman looked at him with suspicion, searching his face as though waiting for some cruel trick. When she saw none, she lowered her gaze to the snow. After a long silence, she whispered, "Why would you help me?" Ethan paused, realizing he didn't fully know the answer himself. Maybe it was the loneliness that echoed in her voice, something that mirrored his own heart. "Because it's Christmas Eve," he finally said. "And no one should be alone and hungry tonight." That was what made her eyes soften, though doubt still lingered. After a pause, she nodded faintly. He offered her his coat, and though she resisted at first, she eventually wrapped it around herself, shivering from the sudden warmth. Ethan led her carefully to his car, where she hesitated again before climbing inside. The leather seats and gentle heat seemed like another world compared to the frozen street she had just been standing in. Ethan drove silently for a while, giving her space to adjust. Eventually, he asked, "What's your name?" She looked down at her hands before answering. "Lily," she said quietly. "Just Lily." Ethan gave a small nod. "I'm Ethan, and my son's name is Noah. He's waiting at home." When they arrived at his mansion, Lily froze again, staring at the grand house covered in lights and wreaths. It looked like something out of a storybook, completely opposite of the darkness she carried with her. "I don't belong here," she murmured, almost ready to turn back. Ethan stopped her gently. "Just come inside. You need warmth, and Noah will be glad for the company." Something in his calm certainty gave her the courage to follow him in. The moment they stepped inside, Noah came running down the stairs, his face lighting up when he saw his father. But his eyes widened at the sight of the woman beside him. "Dad, who is she?" he asked innocently. Ethan smiled faintly. "This is Lily. She's our guest tonight." Noah, only 10 years old but with a kind heart, smiled at her without hesitation. "Hi, Lily. Do you like hot chocolate? We were just about to make some." It was the first time Ethan saw Lily's lips curve into the faintest shadow of a smile. That night, they sat together in the kitchen, and Lily sipped hot chocolate as though it were the most precious thing in the world. She ate the dinner Ethan asked his housekeeper to prepare, but slowly, carefully, as if each bite was a treasure she didn't want to waste. Noah talked happily about Christmas, about the gifts under the tree, and about the snowman he wanted to build tomorrow. Lily listened quietly, answering softly when asked, but Ethan noticed the way her eyes grew glassy at times, as though she hadn't been part of such warmth in years. Later, when Noah went to bed, Lily sat by the fire, her hands folded tightly together. Ethan could sense her struggle, the way gratitude mixed with shame. Finally, she spoke, her voice trembling. "I used to have a life, a normal life. I had a home, a job, even dreams. But life can fall apart faster than you think. I lost my job, then my apartment. I had no family to turn to. One by one, everything slipped away until I had nothing left but the clothes on my back." She paused, her eyes locked on the flames. "People look at me and think I'm invisible, or worse, that I'm something to be feared. But I'm just a person who got lost." Ethan felt a lump rise in his throat. He had lost his wife years ago, and while he had wealth to keep life moving, he knew the sting of grief and the hollow feeling of being left behind. "You're not invisible," he said quietly. "Not tonight." Over the next days, what was meant to be one night stretched into more. Ethan offered Lily the guest room, and though she resisted, saying she didn't want to be a burden, Noah begged her to stay for Christmas morning. She finally agreed, and when they opened gifts by the tree, Ethan noticed that the brightest smile was not on Noah's face, but on Lily's, as she watched the boys' laughter. It was as if she had remembered joy again. He gave her a small gift himself, a simple scarf wrapped in a box. Her eyes filled with tears when she opened it. "I haven't received a gift in years," she whispered. That moment stayed with Ethan long after. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan found himself drawn to Lily's quiet strength. She began to help around the house, cooking with Noah, reading to him, even making him laugh in ways Ethan hadn't seen since his wife's death. Slowly, she began to share more of her story, and Ethan learned of the heartbreak and betrayals that had led her to the streets. He also saw the resilience in her spirit, the kindness she carried despite everything. Noah grew attached to her, often slipping his hand into hers as if it were the most natural thing in the world. As winter melted into spring, Ethan realized that Lily had brought something into their home that money never could: warmth, humility, and love. He no longer saw her as the woman he found digging through trash, but as someone who had touched both his and his son's lives deeply. One evening, while watching Noah and Lily laugh together over a board game, Ethan felt his heart open in a way it hadn't in years. He walked over, sat beside them, and said quietly, "You don't have to go back to the streets. You don't have to live with that fear anymore. Stay with us, not just as a guest, but as part of our family." Lily's eyes widened, tears spilling freely. "Why me?" she whispered. Ethan reached for her hand. "Because you reminded me what it means to truly live. And because Noah already sees you as family." The woman who once searched for scraps in the cold found herself embraced in a home full of light, laughter, and love. And for Ethan, the millionaire single dad who once believed wealth could fill the void in his heart, he discovered that the greatest gift he could give his son was not riches, but the example of compassion and the courage to open one's heart. That Christmas Eve encounter changed all of their lives, proving that sometimes, miracles begin in the most unexpected places, with a simple act of kindness on a snowy night.